I come from a long line of caregivers, and so my grandmother was a caregiver for her mother-in-law. My mother was a caregiver for my grandmother, in fact, both of my grandmothers. And so it was just assumed in our family that we would take care of the elders. In the year 2000, my dad died, and my mother was all alone. My mother chose to go to Washington State to be with my sister, and she was there 6 years. After she was there for a while, things sort of disintegrated, and my sister physically was no longer able to assist my mother. And my mother started to show signs of dementia and also more frailty. And so I told Mother that if she wanted to come to North Carolina, that she could do that. And so she came here in 2007. By May of 2009, Mother had started to physically deteriorate, and that is when she had to start using the wheelchair. At the same time, her mental status started to change some too, and she would have periods of dementia. Mom does not have Alzheimer's, but it's still a type of dementia. And so you never know from one day to the next what kind of day you're going to have. She might go to bed feeling really well and really, laughing and talking like she used to, and when she gets awake in the morning, she's a different person, and she won't even know what day it is, or if she's in her own bed, and she'll want to ask who I am. Sometimes she says hurtful things, and it's not because she means them, but it's the dementia talking. So it is hard to deal with. The emotions of caregiving are up and down sometimes. You try the best you can and you do everything, and if it doesn't work, then you feel like you're not good enough to do this job. You are responsible for another person's life, and sometimes it feels like you're really dealing with your children again because that responsibility is there.
The reality is the vast majority of care for frail and impaired adults is provided at home by family members, not in a long-term care facility. And we know that these caregivers are at risk for physical, emotional, and economic stressors. In fact, caregivers are twice as likely to die prematurely as their non-caregiving peers. At the Adult Center for Enrichment, we know that respite can reduce those risk factors, and that's why we offer adult daycare day health services.
The Older Americans Act has assisted me with the adult daycare because she gets socialization, and that helps her with her memory and to stimulate her thinking. There's also a place for her to go while I work. I could not afford to pay someone around the clock to care for my mom in my home.
Paulette and Marguerite are a perfect example of how the Adult Center for Enrichment can help working caregivers who may find themselves as a sandwich generation. Not only are they caring for an older family member, but they still have children that they're caring for. And also, Paulette's example, they need to go to work. And we know that often caregivers face the decision of leaving their loved one at home alone or quitting their job. And that's just not an option for most folks. So we know that adult daycare, day health services funded by the Older Americans Act funds allows these caregivers to know that their loved one is in a safe setting, to know that they're cared for, they can receive nursing services, and they can go to their job and focus on what they need to while they're there.
I don't know where I'd be if it wouldn't be for Paulette. It means all the world to me to be with her as much as possible. She's my oldest child, and I love her very much.
I would thank Congress for these services because they're such needed services, and they help older Americans to be able to have a better quality of life. And also they help the families because the ones that are trying to take care of these older individuals, the families can feel that they do have support in their endeavors. Without these services of the Older Americans Act, my mother probably would be in the nursing home right now.
Please protect and support the Older Americans Act.